to the Growth Whisperers, where everything we talk about is building enduring, great businesses that last. My name is Brad Giles, and today, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Lawrence. Hello, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Brad. I think I'm usually, I'm normally doing great. Like 90% of the time, I'm feeling very good. Yeah, today's an awesome day or awesome evening as it is here up in the Northern Hemisphere.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
I am well as well. We have just entered into an election in Australia, so the name of the game is to try to avoid watching any election adverts.
Good luck.
Yeah. Try to avoid those as much as possible. So today we're talking about getting your deep monthly reporting right for your business or business unit. Kevin, tell us a bit about this.
Yeah, generally in a lot of companies as they grow, the monthly financial review and reflection and reset is something that people aren't great at. Normally they get an income statement and maybe a balance sheet that they review, and they look at it and they might ask a couple of questions and move on. And what we're talking about is a deep strip down, breakdown of the enterprise and a chance to kind of reset what we're doing 12 times a year. And it could be a part of a deeper monthly strategic meeting in some companies, or just normally its own standalone meeting for many. But the fact is how do you master this discipline? And you and I have probably been a part of, it's a couple thousand financial reviews I've been part of as a part of strategic planning meetings, or for some companies that I might run just this standalone meeting people over a series of years. So how do you master the full dress down of the business so you come up with some awesome improvements? And I'll share an example. Like Walmart is notorious for their Saturday morning meetings. Now, I don't know firsthand if they still do them. They probably do. But it's where all the leaders come back into Bentonville and they go and do the full review of the business and make a whole bunch of changes on that Saturday morning that take effect immediately, so that they don't waste a week. That's a weekly discipline. We're just talking about a monthly version here today.
Yeah. And so there are trends that can be emerging that we want to pick up, and we've got to find a point to deep dive, closing out the month, closing out the financials, and being able to, I guess, trust the figures and be able to dig into the validated figures. It makes a big difference. What has happened? Now, I'm a big believer that we should spend most of our planning time looking forward and not backward, but equally, sometimes looking backward makes a big difference to observe trends.
Yes.
What do we need? What are some substantial changes that perhaps we need to make?
Absolutely. And if you don't, it might take you a quarter or a couple of quarters to get through and make changes that you could be making right now.
Yes, indeed. The monthly, within the meeting rhythm, the monthly discipline to dig deeper, it just makes so much sense for the leadership team to apply that discipline. And I think it's probably rarer than maybe in small and mid-sized businesses than many people appreciate. So taking the time and digging right down, not just saying, oh, what was the profit? What was the revenue? And then kind of leaving it maybe a little bit deeper than that. So what's happened? I mean, and the other point, especially in a high inflation environment, we're seeing things changing all the time, all across the P&L. Steel, electricity, labor, you name it. There are so many things. And so we need to be digging into these things.
Awesome. So before we dig further into kind of some of our key points here, what's your word of the day, Brad?
Oh, my word of the day. I am thinking about I'm thinking about onboarding, and I know that's it's just been so much a part of my world as I get this book closer to maturation that I've been writing. you know, when you've got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Now I take that first off, right? I know that, but
Yes.
it's just because I've shared it now with so many people and the concepts within there, it's just really resonated. So yeah, for me, it's onboarding.
Awesome.
What about yourself?
Great. Iterate is my word today. It's a word that I really, really like. And the idea of it is it's constantly making little changes to make things better, little iterations, little tiny changes is my word. So you need to continually iterate your onboarding process to make it better and better and better. All right, let's jump deep into this episode. So the whole idea here is everyone's got their own way of looking at a business and breaking it down. Everyone likes to look at it through a different window, through a different lens, whatever you want to call it. And it's understandable. And what we want to do is to provide you a solid way that's connected to greatness, and very fortunate to work with a number of private equity-backed companies. And in those companies, they have, because they're, financial investors, they have mastered getting the information out of the business that they believe that they need. So I've seen some outstanding presentations that the private equity companies mandate. I've also seen some ones that are mediocre and missing the mark. But through private equity-backed companies, amazing CFOs who come from awesome, amazing organizations, people iterating stuff on the spot, been able to see greatness from a lot of different perspectives and greatness that relates to improving performance. And that's kind of some of the stuff we want to share with you today. And the first point is that the key here, no matter what you do, is the discipline to stop. Take probably 60 to 90 minutes and just do a full review of the entire business. You're stepping outside and analyzing the machine while it's running. And that the decision makers of the key departments, that would be like the CEO and executive team, or at a divisional level or a team level, are having that time together to reflect and ask questions, understand what the heck is going on, what's working, what's not working, and reset. And it's almost like in a sporting match, when you have, whether it's halftime or quarters, if it's American football, you got time, step back, look at the scoreboard, review what's going on, review some game tape if there was time, and adjust your strategy. And it's just a monthly version of that we're talking about in a fairly deep level. So key point is that you just make the time to do it and have time to dig in, understand, ask questions, and tweak what you're doing. That's number one, and it's probably the most important point. Do it. It's a core discipline, and then we can talk about how to do it well.
And do it with the leadership team so that the leadership team understands. Now, some leadership teams are very sophisticated and they've spent their whole careers doing this, and others don't. But what are the things that are affecting all of the parts of the P&L, the profit and loss, and what are the things that we need to do to rectify them or to understand them deeper? Just digging deeper with the whole leadership team, not just you and the CFO or whatever it might be, getting everyone to understand so that they ask more nuanced questions into the future.
And what a great way to learn, by watching other people review it and ask questions and seeing what they're digging into, and then hearing the explanations. That's an awesome point. So number two is, look, what do you review? What do you look at? And typically what people look at is, well, not enough. So you need to look at your financials, which tell you the score at the end of the month, how you did on the income statement, and how you stand on the balance sheet. That's the basics. It's generally not that insightful, but it's a starting point. Second thing is you need to look at your KPIs, your operational indicators of what's happening in the moving parts of the machine, right? Instead of just the output of the machine and the cost of the machine, which is the financials, it's what's going on in terms of time, speed, quality, and cost or effectiveness, and all the different moving parts from generally all the departments of the business. So the operational indicators, you need to look at how people are doing at the goals. Ideally, look at the goals at a company level, maybe an executive level, depending on your company. And you also got to take a look at the people. So how are we doing? Whether it's customer feedback on one side of the equation, or employee feedback, or anything that affects your culture. And then around people, some of the most important stuff around your core employees. So financials, KPIs, goals, and then key people, including customers and employees.
Because it's not a quarterly planning session, but it is a deep dive. It is the opportunity to dig into all of these areas and to understand what are the results, rather than what many small to medium businesses do. Again, as I said earlier, which is look at the kind of the key, the top line, the bottom line, maybe the gross profit or the COGS if they're lucky. But there is so many more stories to be told. And those stories within the P&L is what could make the difference between a 5% and a 10% or a 10 and a 20% business.
Yes.
In terms of profit.
Yes. Or growth. And all those things help to make you smarter, to understand, to make better decisions for tomorrow, next week, next month, next quarter. So that is absolutely critical. So that's what you got to review. Brad, you want to cover off the next one there?
Yeah. So how to review it. I love this one. The accountable party presents with the best data that they've got. So many people will use an excuse. Oh, we don't report on that. Well, okay. What's the best information that you have? And if you don't have the best information, it could even be from the gut, but that's not ideal.
Or the back of a napkin.
Yeah. But you will get, with the intent that you will get more sophisticated over time. But the most important point there is that the accountable party presents. So if you're accountable for sales, then you're the one that's presenting on sales. If you're accountable for the manufacturing in this city, then you are the one that is reporting on that, or whatever it happens to be. Those people are reporting on it. They're reporting against budget, and they're reporting against last year, and they're also reporting about their recommendations. So last month, we were 5% below, and this is what we're planning to do from here. Within that, there's a detailed breakdown on what matters most. And that's it. They are saying what they're going to do, but also they're saying these are the most important things that have influenced that outcome.
Yes.
We're talking about goals, their progress, where they're stuck, and where we need help. Sometimes we under-resource people, or we've got the people that aren't right for the role or in the wrong seat or what have you. So understanding all of the pieces that in there, that makes such a big difference.
And we're trying to get to the root causes of the greatness or the problems. That's why the accountable person is presenting their section with their insights.
Because they own it, and we need to let them own it, and not let the CEO or the CFO or someone else report on the numbers that they own, because that's such an important part of their job, is to own it, present it to the team, and then they celebrate their wins or losses.
And what a better way to get someone to own it by making them present it, because they're only going to stand up there and look like a fool once or twice, hopefully once, and not know it. And next thing you know, you see even leaders who aren't very strong on a financial side, pre-meeting with a director of finance or the CFO to get all of their questions answered, so they fully understand everything. They start showing up with slides, with little call-out boxes explaining things, why this happened and what they're going to do about it. You know, it forces their growth. It's awesome. And it's your story. It's their story to tell. It's not the CFOs or the finance teams. Now, the finance team might help you with it, but the operator should be present. The owner of it should present it. The CFO might present the overall of the company, but when you start breaking down into pieces, that should be by the owner. The next one, so that was the fourth one, is to give context for the data. And this is a pet peeve of mine, Brad. It shows amateur hour in companies all the time. And I know some people might not like that, but I'm sorry, it's the case. When you start looking at some of these numbers, you need context. And, you know, and one of my clients has the best reporting of, I see one client's amazing reporting. I won't say the best, but when we look at our key numbers, we look at them in line charts with normally 5 years of data, most of it monthly, some of it weekly, where we can see patterns and we can see growth, or we can see a lack of growth. And we've got this company so sliced and diced and dissected. In our reviews, we know exactly who's who in the zoo throughout the entire machine, what's going on, what's not going on. But there's incredible context to the numbers because of the history. We also have an indicator of the goals. So the best way to present the most important numbers, not all of them, is trend data over 3 to 5 years if you can. The second piece of context that is insightful, and again, it's in the advanced class, and it's called bridges, EBITDA bridges, gross margin bridges, bridges for every freaking critical number that you need to pay attention to. And what a bridge does is it takes what the budget was, and then where you actually ended up, even if the budget equals exactly the actual, but there's a whole bunch of sub numbers that will be up or down. So it takes, even if you hit your profit target, it could have been because you're way stronger in one area and way weaker in the other. You need to know that. So when you look at the bridges, that tells you the sub line items that you overperformed and underperformed to give you like double context on all of your numbers, to give you a deeper answer to why the number ended up being that. So bridges are absolutely freaking amazing and provide way more insight and context.
The thing that you didn't say there was excuses. So that point was about give me context, explain. But gee, I don't know how many times I've seen people try to use excuses to explain numbers. And it's like,
no, just give me the data, please. I actually don't want your stories.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're going to do, the data to know why, and then the solution of what you're going to do. And the more data you have, the less room there is for excuses. Like Alan Mulally, who was the CEO of Ford and was an amazing CEO at Ford. I think he came from Boeing before. Remember this article, and I still have it. I don't keep a lot of them, but this one was amazing. And he talked about at Ford, he got sick of all the stories and all the good news, and then people would miss their numbers. So he said, enough of that. He just had them present 300 charts a week. And then they would write yellow or green things and then note actions. It's a beautiful article in Business Week, I think, about this. It's beautiful. But it's like this. Just give me the numbers. Tell me how you're going to fix them. Save the BS for somebody else.
And some people are so good at excuses. And it's like,
oh God.
Oh, it's just disgusting. It's like, I try to advocate, there is no such thing as an excuse. Like that it's not banned, but like we try to encourage teams to call out BS, and excuses are BS. Okay. Yeah. So that happened. What do you recommend? What are you going to do about it? And next
how are you going to be better next time? How are you going to be better next time? How are we going to make sure this never happens again?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. We got to pick up our pace a little bit.
Accolades and remedies. Acknowledge the wins, of course. So we did say it's not all about celebrations, but business is an intellectual sport. There are wins. And what are we going to remedy? What does the person accountable recommend we do? So we've made this point already a couple of times this time. A key part of ownership is, one, presenting to the leadership team, and two, this is what I recommend to course correct. Now, you can't just necessarily say that on the spot. You often have to prepare for that.
Say that again, Brad. That is the key piece. If you're showing up and hoping it works out and winging it, that's not going to help. So I want to share more about that one.
Well, preparation is everything when it comes to these types of meetings.
Yes.
Everybody in the room can tell when someone hasn't come prepared. And it just brings the whole quality of the experience and output down. Like, preparation matters. If you're going to rock up to a meeting and you're going to say, so this is the numbers of my area, my department. This is the trends. This is what's happened. And this is what we recommend to do about it. Like, you can't just turn up on the spot. You need to be well prepared, anticipate questions, and be confident in what you're doing.
Yes, you've got to know the layer of information below what you're presenting so you can ask. That's awesome. Great. So that was accolades and remedies. Come prepared with that. And finally, collective intelligence. What are the things that we need to discuss? Stuff's going to come out, and that we need to use the brains in the room. That's why we have the decision makers. Decisive actions and or further debates or future debates. Some stuff we can't decide in the moment. We might need to get some more information, spend some more time on it. But no matter what, the meeting gets ended with crystal clear actions, decisions we made, or things that we're going to work on coming out of it, circulated to everyone, be able to follow up at the next meeting. And if there's any real special meetings, like two people have to meet and talk about, they should be booking them that day for some time within the next few days. Like, action it now, get it done. And make sure, like, some people I know will be in meetings, they'll be sending notes to their executive assistant, book a meeting with this person, do this. Like, it's captured. By the way, what does it tell you if you're not capturing a bunch of action items in the meeting?
Well, there's no accountability. There's things aren't going to get done. It's a waste of
nothing's going to happen.
Is a waste of
nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to change from the course of action the course it's already on, because it's a discipline, and as a leader there should be. So we had our in our team meeting recently, at our quarterly, it's probably like 15 actions, maybe 10. I don't know. They'll come out tomorrow, but there's a bunch, and just throw them in. Okay, let's action that. So and so take this. That's the effective use of any meeting. Never mind this.
That's okay. Tell us about BNT.
Better next time. Take a couple of minutes to reflect. Hey team, what was really good about today's meeting? How do we make it better next time?
Yeah.
It ain't rocket science. It's iterating. Remember my word up front, iterate? It's a little iterate, even iterating the meeting that you're iterating the business. Just how do we make this a little bit better next time? Not rocket science. It's a powerful question to ask at the end while you're all in the room and fresh from the meeting.
So 2 key points. The last one was about capturing the who is going to do what by when. And this one is asking a simple question at the end of a meeting. What are we going to do better next time when we have this meeting?
Yes. And finally, the bonus, the super pro, you've dialed this in when all the good information goes out a few days in advance so people can pre-digest it and come with even more intelligent questions. Now, some people are not good at reading pre-meeting information. Some people are really good at it. But as a discipline to read it in advance and prepare is extremely powerful, if at all possible. And it's not always possible. I love it when I get pre-information from most meetings because I can scan it quickly. And it helps me to get grounded in it and not, falling to sleep during a 100-page PowerPoint of the financials.
This is what we're going to talk about. Come prepared with your questions. We will have a engaging debate so that we can make the right decisions, and then we will have addressed and moved the company forward significantly at this monthly meeting. That's what matters.
So when it's done right, what it sounds like is the CFO makes the high-level presentation on the financials for a few minutes. Department heads might touch on a few key things. And then people can say, hey, on page 58, there was this. Can you give me more information? Rather than having to go through the 158 pages. Awesome. So great conversation around this critical monthly dress down of the meeting that has, of the business, that has the intent of how do we get better and improve our financials, KPIs, goals, and with our people, and generally make some better decisions so that we can continue to iterate and make better performance. First one was, it's just number one, make the damn meetings happen, make sure they happen. And if you've got multiple divisions, you might have 2 or 3 of these meetings every month. That's fine. The meeting is just as much for the operators as it is for the executives that would be attending the meeting. So with the operators reviewing their business and learning the discipline to be prepared to present it, but make the discipline happen is number one. Number two, what do you review? Financials, KPIs, goals, and key people/customer insights. How do you review it? The accountable party presents, and they come very well prepared. How they doing versus budget versus last year, digging into the goals and where we're at, what we need to do to get them done, deep diving on people, on internally and customers, and just giving the information we need to get a sense of where we're at, what we might need to do different.
So next is, well, the worst way that you can do it is give me an update and give me an excuse. So we want the opposite of that. Okay, we want the context. Give me the update or the number or the KPI. Give me the context as to why that's happening and digging deep into what is causing that to occur. And then what is the trends around that number? Weekly, monthly, even annual, even 3 years could be the right trend depending on the KPI. So there's no such thing as an excuse. Next is accolades and remedies. Acknowledge the wins part of me, and what do we need to do about it? Who is the person accountable? How do they recommend, or what do they recommend that we do about this to fix issues, problems, or to maintain successes? And then finally, collective intelligence. So that is understanding that we need to capture things along the way through these meetings, through tools such as the who, what, whens, and also what do we need to do next time better, or how can we have this meeting better next time? Kevin, do you want to close this out?
Yeah, the bonus is getting all the key information in advance, or some of it, so people can review and not just reviewing it on screen. Great discussion, Brad. I love this one. I'm so passionate about this. I just see it's a missed opportunity for many companies. So thank you for listening this week. This has been the Growth Whisperers with Kevin Lawrence and Brad Giles. Brad and I both have what we think is interesting and informative newsletters. You can get Brad's at evolutionpartners.com.au, and mine is at lawrenceandco.com. So have a great week. We encourage you to dig in and grind out a review of your business so you can make it better and better and better. See you next week.